Okay, FightNerd.com here with Bellator President and CEO Bjorn Rebney. And Bjorn, just to start off, I noticed that your usual sunny voice and demeanor is a little bit hampered. How are you feeling?
I'm a little bit under the weather, but, I'll survive. I just need a good night's sleep tonight and maybe a little bit of rest tomorrow at home, and then we'll start rocking and rolling on emails again Sunday.
All right. Now, you had obviously a lot of big things happen tonight. Probably the biggest was in the headliner. Yeah, I got to say, Dantas, I was always always thought it was kind of strange that he's always coming in as an underdog, but I don't know anyone who expected him to just run through Zach Makovsky. Were you surprised?
I was surprised. I was surprised for what I was talking about earlier. I was surprised because Zach is so talented. I mean, Zach has been dominant at 135 pounds. Most people have got him in the top 5 or 6 in their list in the world. And Dantas just dominated every facet of the game. He dominated. And the thing that shocked me is he dominated from a wrestling perspective. His takedown defense was spectacular. His jiu-jitsu was unbelievable. I mean, his jiu-jitsu was just top shelf. His striking, his kicks were great. His kicks to the head, his kicks to the body were devastating. Dantas just looked, I think we're talking about one of the best 135-pounders in the world. I mean, I look around the 135-pound landscape, and I don't know who I would pick that could beat Eduardo Dantas. He's a very, very special talent. He's 23 years old. I mean, he's got all the time in the world to develop, and right now he's fighting at an elite world-class level. So I was surprised he was able to so easily dominate Zach Makovsky. That was just a shock to me because I know how good Zach is.
Now, when you put together like the next 135-pound tournament, obviously there are some early favorites. Zach Makovsky probably coming back.
Sure.
But when you put together that and you have that thought in your head, like, man, who's going to beat this kid? Our previous best guy didn't even give him a challenge. Is that something that goes in your mind? Like, we got to look for more talent just to challenge our current champion?
We're always hunting. I mean, the team that I've got and our vice president of talent relations, Sam Kaplan, we're always hunting for great talent. Sometimes as an organization, you get blessed by the fact that you get an amazingly talented fighter. We've had a dominant force at 70 in Ben Askren. Mike Chandler dominated Eddie Alvarez in what was, by most people's accounts, a fight of the year, and it looks to be just a huge force for us at 55. Kearns looked amazing at 45. As one of the best in the world. If he's, I don't know if he's the best 145-pounder on earth, but I think if everybody at 45 started fighting, I think he and Jose Aldo would be the last two guys standing. Look, you get I wouldn't call it a curse. I think it's a blessing. You get great fighters, and sometimes they dominate. And I think Eduardo Dantas could conceptually go on a very long run at this organization. He's an incredible talent. I mean, you see it across the board. Lombard dominated for us at 85 for a number of years. Anderson Silva's dominated at 85 without much of a challenge at the UFC. Before GSP hurt his knee, dominated at 70. We've got Askren at 70, who's been incredibly dominant. So, they become the high water mark. I think you're looking at Eduardo Dantas, one of the best 35ers on earth today. So he could have a long run.
Now, you mentioned of Eddie Alvarez. Speaking of Eddie, you got kind of a big show coming up next week. That's a big rematch. Is that one of those shows, just because it's like a lot of name recognition there, something that's really been awaited by the hardcore fans? Is that one of those shows that you as a promoter just go, okay, this could be a really big one?
Yeah, you do. I mean, I think obviously Eddie's fight against Aoki is a big fight. Eddie asked me to get that rematch for him 3 years ago, and I was finally able to put it together. And that is definitely a big fight. But I mean, from a purist perspective, as a fan, the Rick Hahn fight against Lloyd Cupcake Woodard, the moment we made that fight, the moment that was the next fight in the evolution at 55 to the semis, I couldn't wait to see that fight. I can't wait to see Michael Falcao get back into the cage again. I can't wait to see the Santos fight against Rogers. Eddie Shinya is going to be a great fight, and it's stylistically it's a compelling matchup that you won't take your eyes off of. But there's even the Renee fight against Brent Weidman, just from a striking purist perspective, that's a great fight as well. So there's literally 5 fights on the show. We've asked the network for 2.5 hours minimum for it. They gave it to us right away. There's 5 fights on the show, any one of which I'd stay home to watch. But obviously, Ed Aoki is going to be great. It's going to be a great fight to see again, happen again, and potentially a different outcome.
Now, with Ed versus Aoki being a big fight, there is one other fight that could have potentially been made that would have been a lot bigger. The iron was hot for it, which would have been an immediate rematch between Chandler and Alvarez.
Sure.
This is something that's been talked about a lot. I know that you really are very, very adamant behind the tournament format, but does the fact that if that fight's going to happen at all, it has to happen farther down the road? When something like that comes up, do you ever think like maybe we're limiting ourselves by keeping to the tournament format?
No, not really. I think the essence of what we're about is objectivity. The essence of what makes us who we are is that you've got to earn that title shot. You don't just get it because you had a great performance or because it was a compelling fight or because, me as a promoter could sell it. You've got to earn it, just like the way you would earn it in any other major sport that you and I track and that we watch. So, there's always 1,000 different shortcuts that you can take. And there was a lot of cry and hue for a rematch between Chandler and Alvarez because it was such a great fight to watch. But if Eddie gets back into a tournament, decides to go that route and wins it, and Chandler's still champion, then that's a fight that will happen for a title, and there'll be amazing power and kind of traction behind it. But it never really occurred to me or to our team to just make it again for the title. It just didn't, it's not what we're about. It's not the format that that was born out years ago and that's worked so well for us.
All right. Well, congratulations on a great night of fights. Hopefully next week works out just as well as you planned. For thefightnerd.com, this has been Bjorn Rebney. Thank you very much.
Thanks, brother.